I'm Ariana Grande.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Erivo.
And you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Visit bpn.fm to discover more.
There's a cat over here. There's a cat over there. And the wrong one died. And the wrong one died.
Welcome to The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. I'm your host, Mike Abrams, and today we have another great fan guest. Her Anna McNeely Gumby cat jumpsuit is currently on display at the new Broadway Museum in New York City, and she has over 2,400 unique items from the show, which could possibly be one of the largest Cats memorabilia collections in the world. She has a Cats costume rental business and is a massive Cats fan. So welcome, Christine Bogle. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, it's nice to be here. Thanks, Mike.
I'm excited to hear from you. I think I don't know, I've never heard anybody that has a larger memorabilia collection, so we'll get to that. But sure. We got to start at the beginning. When did you become a Cats fan? How did it start? Like, what was your first interaction with the show?
My first interaction with the show was when I was 12 years old. And I came from a privileged background, but it was a background that was sort of where we were provided for, but we had sort of a sort of a dysfunctional household. And we had everything we could want, but it was so incredibly dysfunctional. And literally I was having a serious hard time. And I remember in the summer of 1982, I was 12 years old. My parents had divorced, and I was kind of floundering. I was doing very badly in school, and this was before they had found out that kids were starting to develop something called autism and Asperger's. And I was particularly a very lonely child. I really didn't have a lot of friends or anything like that. And it all came to a head in the summer of 1982. And my family had left to go somewhere, and I was alone in the house, and I was just laying on my bed, and the window was open. And it was summer, and it was kind of late summer, and the breeze is blowing in. And I had my radio tuned to a soft rock station. And I hear this song come on the radio. I'm laying down, and instantly, like a magnet, just pulled me upwards. And I go to the side of my bed. I'm looking out the window, and I'm hearing the strains of this song sung by this woman. And it was Barbra Streisand singing Memory. And I was like... All I knew was that this song that I was listening to, I had chills going up and down my body. And I didn't know what it was, but I knew that it was important, very important. And I didn't know at the time how important it would be, but it was important. And I remember hearing the song, and I can see myself still in the room, and the dust and the lights coming off the sunlight and the sound of the lawnmowers. And she's just singing the song called Memory. And it just really spoke to me at 12 years old, because I felt like I was so different, growing up. And I frantically wrote down the name of the song, and the singer, Barbra Streisand. I knew that my mom liked Barbra Streisand. I heard this song. I wanted to hear it again, like instantly. But I ran downstairs and I grabbed all my mom's records, and she had all the great crooners, and Barry Manilow. She had Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and Barbra Streisand. So I find a Barbra Streisand album that she has, and it's one of the old ones. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. So I wanted to hear the song again so badly, but it was 1982. And literally, children, there's no internet. There's no instant gratification here right now. Okay, if you wanted to hear something again, you had to listen to it, wait for it on the radio, and get lucky. And I waited the whole week to try and hear the song again. Desperately, my mom, we're in the car. I'm like, Mom, turn it to that station, turn it to the soft rock, station. And I was unlucky, I didn't get it. So that weekend, the next weekend, my dad, took us out, and he had visitation rights. So we were going out shopping at the shopping mall, and to get your music, you had to go to the record store. So I'm going in there, and I'm like, Barbra Streisand, I got to find that song. I go to the singles, it's not there. I go to her section, the Barbara section, it's not there. And I'm like, everything could have stopped right there completely. I would have never have gone into anything with cats if I had not walked down the aisle when my dad called me to the cashier. I'm at the very edge of the rack, and I look to my right. Something made me look to the right. And I look down and I see this black LP record album, and there's these 2 yellow splotches on it. And, I look at it, and instantly I could see that the splotches weren't splotches, they were dancers. And a lot of people have told me they've looked at the eyes and they've never seen, the dancing characters. I saw it instantly. It was a male dancer and it was a female dancer, and I saw it instantly. I just had that ability to see it. And I pulled it up, and, I'm like, cats. And then I put it down, and then I look to the right, and there's a sticker on it, and it says featuring the hit song Memory. And I'm like, oh my God, this song says Memory on it. Oh my God, Barbra Streisand's in this weird album. I got to find out what it is. I turn it around, and I see just nothing, no pictures. And I'm like, oh God. I look at it, and there's nothing but just white text, like a Star Wars white text scroll going down the back of it. And I turn over, and the record album's heavy. It's a 2-album set. I look at the price, $22. And my dad's never going to let me get this. This is way too expensive. So I pick it up and I grab it. I'm 12 years old, okay? I would go to my dad. I go, Dad, this is the song I really want is on this album. It's Barbra Streisand. Please, can I buy this record album? I know it's so expensive, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, oh, I've seen that. That's a Broadway musical about people dressed up as cats. And I said, Barbra Streisand's in it, Dad. And he's like, okay. My dad was an arts guy. Okay, even though he worked in the military, he's in the arts force, in the Air Force, he's an arts guy. He liked symphonies, he liked operas, he loved the Broadway shows. He saw a lot of the greats. I believe that he saw Rex Harrison, and I think he saw Yul Brynner in The King and I, and then I know for sure he saw Joel Grey front row, like 2 days after the opening of Cabaret. So my dad was a big arts guy. And I said, I want this song. And he's all, well, okay, I'll get it for you. But why don't you get the cassette tape? And you can listen to it on my Sony Walkman. And I was like, oh, okay. But I didn't realize, Sony Walkmans at the time were really like a phenomenal invention. You could carry your music around with you. So you could put your headphones on and go jogging or jazzercise or whatever. And it was like the first time you could actually have portable music. So my dad convinced me to buy the cassette because it was cheaper and I could carry it around. And my dad had a Walkman and he promised to get us one for Christmas. And he also said, on the way out, he goes, that Broadway musical, I really want to see it. And you said you wanted to go see Annie. Maybe this Christmas we'll take you up to New York to see the show. You can see Annie or Cats, whichever one. And I was like, okay. But I wasn't excited because I didn't know anything about Cats. And I thought, oh, okay, we'll see Barbra Streisand. Literally, I thought before I listened to the music or read about it or the lyrics or anything, I thought it was a show about Barbra Streisand, and she was singing memories of her life. And I thought she must be this old senior citizen lady singing about her old cats. I mean, like the old cats she used to own, through her life or something. That's what I thought the show was about. Because there was no pictures, nothing. It was completely blind. I didn't know anything. And we had seen movie musicals, Annie and Grease, and we danced to them, downstairs in the basement, and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I get this music at my dad's apartment, and we were only allowed to listen to his Walkman for a half an hour. We had to share it. It was my older brother, and it was me and my sister, so we had to share it. So I put on Cats, but I only could listen to the first side of the Act 1 cassette. And I have no idea what I'm listening to. I'm completely baffled. I'm like, Jellicle, Cats, Jellicle. Yeah. I just wanted to listen to Memory. I didn't understand what was going on. And so I only listened all the way up to Bustopher Jones. And then when I got it back, we were going to leave. And I thought, I got to listen to Memory before I leave. So I listened to it, and it's not Barbra Streisand. So it's a different woman's voice. And there's this little girl child singing at the beginning of it. And I thought, what? I was like, oh my God, it's so cute. She's singing, a little girl is singing, and I was like, what? So I was very confused because when I opened up the cassette, all I had were the lyrics, no pictures, nothing, no pictures at all.
Yeah.
And I kind of put it away, but then I kept going back to it when I got my Walkman. And then I remember seeing somewhere in the spring, we never went up to New York, of course. Things were getting crazy. And my mom wanted to move to the West Coast where my grandparents were. So we were getting ready for a move. And it was late at night, and we had stayed up a little bit later, my brother and sister and I. And we were watching the TV. And at that time, they were starting to do, New York Board of Tourism was starting to do this I Love New York campaign. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, you saw the infamous commercial, right?
Yes. Okay, this is what happened. And I had seen it before in passing, like they had chorus line members and some of the other people. And I'm sitting on the couch and my brother and sister are in front of the TV. And then all of a sudden I see on screen Terry Mann as Tugger and Donna King as Bombalurina. And Terry's crouched over there with the fog and the fake city set behind him. And he goes, "We cats love New York." And I vaulted off the couch and I fell over the coffee table, and I'm like in between my brother and sister, "Don't turn off the TV." And I hear my mom's all like, "Come on, you kids, go to bed." And so I saw the I Love New York commercial. And it was the first time I'd ever seen the characters. And because I've been listening to them for months. The first time I'd ever seen him. And I remember thinking, that's what Mistopheles looks like. I was like, oh, wow. I was like, oh my God, I've got to see more of this. And they didn't have the tire commercial out yet, or I didn't get to see the Cats That Leap commercial. So only thing I had with these characters in my head, or what they looked like and how they sounded and moved in space, was the I Love New York commercial. And as fate would have it, I never saw it again. It took me years. It took me at least 15 years to find that commercial with traders, with people trading Broadway stuff. It took that long. It's crazy.
It's so interesting to hear her say this, because it's like, it is like, compared to the time we're living in now, where there's TikTok influencers and people going and sharing everything, that you can get a pretty good taste of everything you want to hear. And that commercial you can find on YouTube.
Exactly.
So it's like you can just go back. And even in the music, there's you don't even have to think. You can go to Google and hum the lyrics and they'll tell you what the song was.
Yeah. And at the time I was a brand new fan, and it was part of my teenage life. And the way they had started the show was like, "Is the curiosity killing you yet?" And with the commercial, and they had nothing, and people had to go in there blind. And as luck would have it, we moved in '83, and then about 4 months later, the first national tour came to Washington, D.C. So I missed it by 4 months. And my dad went to go see it. And then he came back and he gave me more info, and he gave me pictures and programs and things like that, because he knew how much I loved it. So this is going.
So when was the first time you saw it?
This is going into the first time. So I was 14, and then he said, "For your 16th birthday, I'll take you to see Cats." And I went. I got my date right here. I went out the day after my birthday, August 15th, 1985, and my father took me on a business trip to Chicago. So I saw the show in Chicago at the Schubert Theater. And he got tickets last minute. So he had seen it before, but he kind of knew what was going on. But he wasn't a really good person that would just go on the phone and wait for hours and get the best seats. Okay, so we were up in the balcony.
Again, very different than now, where you can just go online and get them. You had to go get tickets.
You had to either get at the box office and point, "I want to sit there, third row on the aisle." Yeah. You had to be physically in person, or you had to call on Ticketmaster, Telecharge, or whatever it was, and hang on the phone for at least an hour, or you get busy signals to buy anything. Phantom of the Opera tickets with Michael Crawford. We were on the phone for 2 hours. We were on the phone for hours and hours, and we get bumped off and have to call again. Different world. It was crazy. It was totally different.
Yeah.
And the way they were, I was going back to the way they were advertising the show was busy. What was basically, you go in blind. You see a couple grainy pictures in the newspaper, and you may see a commercial. And it was word of mouth. It was all word of mouth. You got to see this crazy, spectacular, show that's in town right now. And that's how the show got its popularity and its allure because it was literally, it was a show that you really didn't know much about. But up until the internet time, that's how shows were produced and marketed. Yeah. I mean, literally, if you were going to go see The King and I, you, unless you were like working on the show or you had friends in the show, you didn't know anything about it. You'd see a poster and you say, okay, my friend said that show's pretty cool. Let's go see it. And then you walk in, and I think audiences were way more amazed. I think they were more open.
Well, you got a captive audience.
They're more captive audience.
You don't have your phone in your lap.
Exactly.
There's a lot less distractions. There's not the video. Yeah, it's just a totally different time.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, there's some benefit to it. Compared
it really was.
To now.
Yeah, it was literally, people went in completely blind. And that's how I went in to see Cats. I had seen one commercial on TV, and I'd just been listening. Now, you have to realize, I found out about the show in 1982, and I didn't see it for 3 or 4 years later. And I listened to that Broadway cast album of the cassette album. And eventually I got the LP and the book of the musical. But the pictures were so grainy and so dark and so small that I literally obsessed over these pictures. I was like, wow, like that's Mephistopheles. And the book of the musical is I don't know, the Broadway version, there's so many better pictures. When I found the New York Public Library online of the pictures they took of Martha Swope's pictures, I thought they could have used so much better pictures. It's just the worst pictures in that book. Just awful. The only picture I loved was Cynthia as Victoria, because you could see her face and you could see the design of her wig. And I love that. It was beautiful. So I'm
would love to hear.
Yeah, this is great. I'm in the theater in the very back row of the balcony, and I can't see a thing. I have literally on the very top of the theater, and it was me. I walk in and I see the set for the first time, and I'm blown away. And I rush all the way down to the railing, and I'm literally perched over the railing. I'm looking down at this amazing set. And back then, it took about 18 semi-trailers to bring the show across the country. I mean, the set, if people have not seen it now, it's really rinky-dink now. It's just like, it looks like a high school production.
It's inflatable.
Yeah.
It's inflatable
no,
now on the tour.
Anymore. No, it looks like a high school production now. It's bare bones.
The tour one right now is inflatable.
Yeah, it's bare bones. I mean, literally bare bones. But back then they built it all the way out. So the walls were covered. The walls had lighting built into it. There's junkyard going all the way down into the aisles, and it was crazy when I saw it. I was like, whoa. I mean, it was insane. So we go and see the show. The show starts. I'm in the center. My dad's in between me and my dad's friend. And I see the green-eyed cats running up and down the aisles. I didn't know that was going to happen. So I was like, oh my God, they're running through the aisles. And then all of a sudden I'm looking over, and this cat comes and sits down on my dad's friend's lap. And all I see is a silver black and white back. And I'm like, I didn't know it was Mocha Strap at the time. And I'm like, oh my God. They're sitting on, what's going on? I was just loving it. I was so happy. And I love, there was so many different choreography bits that I saw in the first part of the show that have just been completely gone now, completely been obliterated. I liked it on tour because they had balconies, they had platforms above, on the sides. And when Grisabella gets chased away by Tumble, she ran up the platform, and then she watched the rest of the Jellicle ball from the top of the right platform, looking down at them. She wasn't on the boot or anything. She was over them. And I love that, because I was up in the balcony and she was right there. And there was a blue light on her and all shimmery, and she's looking down, and she's pretending to do the movements up on the balcony, not on the back of the car or on the boot. So I thought that was beautiful. And I saw the flying trapeze, and oh my God, it was really, really great.
Yeah.
And intermission comes, and I go down to the front of the railing and look over, and I see a line of people being let up onto the stage. And they were going up there to get autographs and signed by Old Deuteronomy. And my mouth dropped open because my dad hadn't told me that. And he kept that from me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going down. So I go out to the lobby, and my dad's getting a drink. And I said, Dad, I'm going downstairs. I'll be back. And I had my program and everything and a pen, and I'd gone and shuffled around, and I knew I didn't have a lot of time. This was my first Broadway show I'd ever seen. I rushed to the staircase, and there's a red velvet rope attached to the staircase wall and an usher in front of it. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, nobody can go down from the balconies and mezzanine to the lower lobby floor. And I was, okay, this was unacceptable. So I went to the other side, and the same thing. And we were trapped up in the balcony in the mezz. We couldn't go down because they needed to clear the stage. And they had so many people up on the stage from the orchestra level. And oh my God, I thought this was, I was so crushed. I was so crushed. So the show, I watched the whole thing, and then my dad says, oh man, my dad went to try and talk to the ushers, both ushers. He went to both. My daughter's a really big fan of the show. She wants to go down and see the characters. Can she go up on stage? Blah, 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 blah. It's her first time seeing it, her first Broadway show. He did everything to try and get me down there, but they wouldn't let us down. So the curtain call comes, and my dad says, come on, I'll take you down there. We'll let you go and kind of stand in the back of the orchestra so you can see them up close. So we went down there, and the curtain call's going on. They're all making their bows. And one of the side of the front center doors is open, and there's an usher there. And my dad's all like, hey, can my daughter go in now? And I'm like, she wants to go in around the door and stand in the back. No. And so the usher's in front of me, and I'm seeing the actors on stage giving their bows. And that was the end of the show. And the second time I saw it was with a drama club in high school, and I was on the balcony in the Los Angeles production, and I got to see a little bit closer. But again, at the time, if you were in the balconies, you were not allowed to go back down on the stage. Okay, you had to be down in the orchestra. So it took me to the fourth time I saw Cats, where I got to be down in the front row, and I got to go up on stage, and I met Calvin Remsburg as Doot, and I said, sometimes he's asleep and sometimes he's talking to people. And then Calvin goes, oh, it's just how you want to play him, because Calvin liked to talk to people. So I thought that was just amazing. And the first time I walked on the set, I was like, and I saw him, and I was completely hooked. How
many times have you seen it live?
I'd say around 115 times. I really have no way of knowing at this point. I know it's over 100. I'd have to go back through all my stuff and count each program, each ticket, and I saved each ticket and I saved each program, but I never was obsessed enough that I was going to keep the number, to number it, and to store every single ticket in binders. I was more interested in articles and things like that.
We'll be back after this short break. Yeah, so that's a great pivot. I want to hear about your memorabilia collection and how you started, what was kind of the first piece you collected? How did you start collecting, and where is it kind of taken off to today? What's maybe your most favorite piece or most interesting piece?
Oh, okay. The first piece I ever got was from one of my best friends, Hector Montalvo, who was sort of the unofficial mascot of the Broadway show. Now, I met him by writing a letter. I saw an interview with him on Variety, or is it Variety magazine backstage, and they had done a small piece on him, and I wrote to him, and the letter actually got delivered to him at the Winter Garden, which it was amazing that happened. And I started talking with him, and I met him. We saw the Broadway show together. Blah blah blah. Well, one Christmas, the Cats cast were making ornaments, and they were taking some of the old ripped up unitards and tails and warmers, and they were knitting and making little tiny ornaments, little round balls and little tiny bags, like drawstring bags made of the actual fabric. And he knew that I loved Victoria, so he got me a Cynthia Onrubia scrap of unitard. It's a little tiny thing about that big, and it had the Cats Who Care Equity Fights AIDS ribbon on it. I still have it. It was the first thing I ever got that was original.
Oh wow!
It was the first original piece of fabric or anything I got from the show. And it had a little fuzzy. He made sure to get one with a fuzzy on it and some actual painting on it, because some of them were kind of bare, with a couple of maybe like Plato with some scratch some markings at top, but he made sure to get me a Cynthia. And it was signed by Cynthia and Rubio too. So that was pretty cool. So that was my first
piece. And
my first piece.
And then, how did you get to the point we are today where you said you have over 2,400 pieces of, is it stuff that you're finding online and buying? Is it stuff that you're getting from cast members? Like, what is most of it? Where does it mostly come from?
Most of it came from online. Yeah. When eBay started. I mean, that's pretty much how everybody got stuff, is on eBay. And I didn't really start collecting until eBay, really. And that just opened up the floodgates. I mean, that enabled me to get every single UK brochure ever published, and things like that. I started collecting programs because I was so obsessed with the show, and around the time I met Hector and was starting to see Broadway, I started to become interested in the other international versions, the French version, the Hungarian version, the Japanese version. So I was literally going to the libraries and finding the addresses of these theaters, and I would put $60 cash, and I'd shove it into a plain nondescript envelope, and I'd say, Cats program brochure, and I would track down the name, so they got a gist of what they wanted, and it was hopefully enough to pay for shipping. And 9 times out of 10, these theaters would send me their brochures, so I was starting to collect brochures. And sometimes I even get them signed. I mean, I got the China, I got the Swedish China Teatron, and it was completely signed. I was like, oh my God, wow. So it was like with a letter I wrote in English, and I put about $60 in the thing, and they sent it back. Because they literally translated my letter because they hadn't seen anything like this before. American Fan is so crazy about cats. And
again, this is all pre-internet. Like, there's not,
that was
you're not like shooting an email to them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's such a cool piece because it is there are still some productions. I've interviewed, I think, over 20 different productions, people from 20 different productions. Yeah. And I didn't know most of these productions existed.
Oh, yeah.
And it is kind of fascinating to see of wow, there's this nuanced piece, and it is some difference and some unique parts. And then there's things that go for 15 years, but are on the same tour. So to hear that it was something you were tracking down,
I was searching
the Wikipedia page to tell me that is crazy. It's really cool.
It's crazy. I was so obsessed around the early 90s. I had gone back to Washington, D.C. to live with my dad. I went to a very prestigious art school called the Corcoran School of Art. It was blocks away from the White House. And I was also a couple metro rides away from the Library of Congress. So I would go into the Library of Congress and I would track down the Vogue magazine article. I tracked down the Time magazine article. They saved everything. So I would go and I would spend 3 or 4 hours looking at microfiche. I would go, okay, Des Moines, Iowa, Cats was there on this date, and I would go and microfiche everything, and I would copy. And back then the color copies were terrible. They're $1.50 each. And regular black and white was like 10, 15 cents. So I had to carry all this change to the Library of Congress. I mean, I was crazy. I was like, yeah, I'm going to track down all this stuff. So when I found out the foreign language, I got the German Hamburg CD first. And then I was just like, I got to find out more about these productions. And then I found out about Japan and just started collecting from there. And then when eBay came out, I started going more after I wanted costumes. I wanted actual pieces of the show. I had a lot of pictures, a lot of photos, a lot of news articles. I had, bootlegs, I had cassettes, I had LPs, tons of stuff already. And then a lot of the stuff was rare. I mean, stuff you would never be able to find, like the Hungarian souvenir brochure. You'd never be able to find it. The Mexican brochure. My dad went down to Mexico to visit our relatives, and he got every single news article from Mexico and the brochure when he saw the show there. So he saw it.
These are things that you had to. Yeah, you basically had to know somebody at the theater.
Yeah, you had to know somebody.
Yeah, because they're not online. They're not selling.
There was no internet until
either someone had to go and take it and put it there, or you had to know somebody at the theater.
You had to know somebody.
Is there a piece you're missing that you like? What's your dream piece of memorabilia from the show that you don't have that you wish you owned?
I was thinking about this today, and then I just looked down at my book here. I can show you. It's a dream piece. It's something that I would absolutely go absolutely crazy for. And I don't know if you know about it or not, but it could be a dream piece for everybody, and it's not a costume piece. I gotta find it here. Where is it? Oh, it's somewhere in here. I'm looking. There's like 50 pages in here. It is the Abaddon photo shoot. This is, for me, would be the absolute holy grail for cats. They took the original cast members and they brought them to Michael Abaddon's studio for Vogue, and they photographed them in all these different poses. And this photo session, you know, the red poster where they're all in the tower, it's from this session. And they're right now on Instagram, there is a page called Cat's Winter Garden Theater, and there's a lot of behind the scenes extra photos I've never seen. They must have taken about 100 photos, and every character is photographed, really high res and everything. I mean, beautiful Cynthia and everybody is photographed. And I think they spent a whole day at Michael Abaddon's doing those photos. And I have several photos that negatives, but I don't have the whole set. There must be at least 50 to 100 photos that were taken in that photo session. And I would do anything to get those photos. Because of the original Broadway cast. Yeah, and everybody was photographed in various poses. They did 4 or 5 different renditions of the red poster, you know, the famous red poster, you know, and Donna's on the other side, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. But some of the pictures are showing up again. But I would love to have those poster size,
the whole set,
high res where I could see even the pores, you know, that would be for me. And it's not a costume, which is crazy. It's not a costume at all. It's those photographs. It's those expressions and the body poses that they're in. And, you know, that for me would just be like, wow. I mean, wow, there were so many photos. So many photos. We're
putting this out to the world of a lot of Cats fans. So hopefully if someone knows, they can get in touch with you.
I would love the Abaddon
figure out a way.
Pictures. I would just love them, and especially in high res, because a lot of the ones I have are kind of dark and grainy. But I would love them in high res. Those beautiful. Yeah. I have 2 or 3. I have a beautiful one of Grisabella against the red poster background, because they filmed it. They took the picture in front of a red. They had different colored backgrounds, so the white background, the red background, the blue one, and she's like this. You know, she's like, oh, it's so beautiful. A really, really beautiful photo of Betty Buckley. Really nice. Yeah, I would love all those.
I want to hear a little bit about the other parts of your fandom, because I know you've been a fan since the pre-internet age, and for years you've collected. You've got your own costume rental business, but I think like there's some parts of like that you had some websites that you were the musicals.net, you know, almost before, and some stories with that fandom. So tell me a little bit about that part of your Cats fandom, that section of it when it was this almost Wild West before modern internet, I would call it.
Yeah, the beginning.
This is like pre-internet.
Pre-internet, yeah. I think the day I got the internet and hooked up, I went to musicals.net. I typed in Cats Musical Broadway, and immediately I got shunted to musicals.net. So I signed in as Victoria the White Cat, VTWC, and that was my handle. VTWC. It's so long ago, but still people know as me online as Victoria the White Cat. And I just started posting there, and this was when the Cats video came out, and a lot of fans were being exposed to Cats first with the video. And I thought the video was okay, but since it was the UK version, I was a little disappointed, because, you know, I was, if you're raised with a certain look of the characters, and that's kind of what you were raised with, you're kind of a little adamant that things shouldn't change. And I didn't like the mismatch of the Munkustrap is in his full Broadway costume. He's not in the UK. He's in Broadway. He's got the Broadway wig on, the Broadway tail, Munkustrap Gruber. And then you have the UK version, you know, and they're wearing the Broadway tails with the yarn, but the wigs are all different. And there was a lot of new fans coming in. And I didn't really know what to make of them, because a lot of them were, they were kind of writing things into the show that I wasn't raised with. And and I was like, okay, we're making things a little too complicated. It's a little too complicated, you know. I don't know. It was a hard time for me at that time. It was really hard. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really hard.
Was it because I think that's always an interesting part for me as someone who's basically made stuff up on the fly on the backstory, because I've focused on that versus talking to fans and someone like you and some of the other fans I've talked to where, you know, you have way more than I do about the show. And that's like, you know, that is what you're saying is almost what I've been doing. And it's kind of challenging in a sense of where there's your version, which is, honestly, there's only one correct version, and that's the original people that created it.
The original.
The original group. But it's kind of a show built on this kind of bizarre openness of a world. It almost, to me, like I've translated a few times to Harry Potter, where it's like you built this universe that everything can live in, and that's why there was there's the Tumblr kind of has like their own kind of role play version of it, but it's interesting to hear you come back from 1998, 99, when there isn't all of this discourse from it, because it doesn't exist yet, except for in this one little world. Yeah. And most people that's the 98 movies, the only thing they're exposed to.
That's the only thing they're exposed to.
And they don't know any of the differences.
And I came from the world where, again, remember way back when I was talking in the beginning, I had no pictures. I had the music. I had to imagine what these characters were doing and the way they looked. I only had grainy black and white pictures. So when I saw the show live for the first time, I was blown away. But when, you know, the other kids, they just saw the movie and they were blown away by the movie on a screen. But I had to imagine it all for 5 years before I saw it. And that, I think, has a sort of special, I mean, I was almost like one of the original cast members, because in the UK, they showed up on rehearsal day. What are we doing? We don't know what we're doing. What are we going to look like? How are we going to move? How are we going to act? How are we going to sing? And with the video, it was all laid out. It's flat and it's just there, you know, and you can love the lights and the music and everything, but it's still on the screen. And there's no, I guess you could say the imaginativeness of it, because it's there. And then you can take from the movie what you want, and you can build on what the movie is. But I never built on the movie. I just went to the show because I wanted to see the actors. I wanted to see the actors interacting, and I wanted to see the music. And I was way pro live show than I was the movie, of course, you know, because just the background that I had.
Yeah.
The background I had.
You know, it's an interesting way you're bringing this up that I'm almost would love to kind of go back to talk to some of the fans of like, what was the first interaction with the show? Because yours was music first.
Mine was the music.
It was the music, and then you got to see a production that was really the original, kind of choreography and group, almost the original. Yeah. And then you have this kind of years later, this movie version. And then I don't know if you've seen the revival, but
the things were cut out, and there was no Growl Tiger. And
then the revival's totally different. There's some, choreography changes and different characters and some stuff changed.
I am truly Grisabella. You're talking to Grisabella because she's no change. Please, I want things to stay the way they are. Don't mess with perfection.
I'm now curious because
exactly.
I was almost a middle version of yours, although I saw 2016 revival first. But I saw a stage production before I'd heard the music because at this point in life, most people have at least heard Memory, but I'd never heard the whole soundtrack. Sure. I've never heard the whole thing.
Oh, cool.
So I saw that version first. Then I heard it all. Then I watched the 98 movie because that's what's on YouTube. And now I've assessed it from every angle. But I've not been able to actually go back to an original production because it's hard to find. There's not like an easy bootleg. You have to go to like the library, like Lincoln Center Library, and get a press pass to get it.
I went to the New York Public Library and I sat down there and I cried tears of joy when I saw that. And I was good. I was really good. I did not pick up my phone. I did not record it. I didn't take a single picture of the little grainy screen. I mean, it's not a big flat screen TV. It's a tiny little box, and it's probably like a smaller than the box behind you, the flat screen behind me. Okay, about cut that in half.
Yeah.
Cut this in half. Okay, a square box, and they shot it like that. And I cried tears. I cried tears when I saw that, when I saw Betty Buckley, because I really, if I could, I'd travel back in time and sit with Hector like the second week the show opened. I would do anything to go back and see that.
I don't think many people have seen that version.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that version's hard to go because, to go see that, it's not just like on display. You've got to schedule time and you've got to get them to,
and you have to be like,
and you have to
exactly
ready in their in their room. You don't get to bring it home, and it's an experience for sure.
I did that about 5 years ago before COVID, and these are my original notes. I had to take notes when I was watching it because there was so much that was different that had been changed. I mean, it's great. I mean, wow, I was watching it, and by Act 2, I just stopped taking notes. Act 2 and everything like that.
You just want to be in. You want to be in in it at that point.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's insane, the stuff here. The pirates with the masks. You know the masks, the pirate masks that they wore on Growl Tiger? They wore these masks.
I've never seen this version.
No, the original Broadway production, they wore masks on their head, and I have all 4 of them. I have all 4 of those original masks.
You own the masks?
I own those masks.
Wow.
Yeah, I own them. They're really, they stink. They're really bad because a lot of the leather and everything is starting to go. But like when, you say when you bring food home to preserve it and you store it in a cool, dark place. Okay, yeah. My costumes are stored in a cool, dark place. Okay, they're being, taken care of.
Preserved. I love it.
Yes.
And you've got one it's cool that you also have one on display in a museum, which is
I contacted them
to share with the world.
Yeah, I contacted them because I did want to share it. I really want to start sharing some of my costumes and sending it to various. But this was a theater museum, so I'm like, whoa, do you have anything from Cats? And they said, no, we have one of the Siamese. And I said, oh, Siamese are a dime a dozen. I can get you Gumby. I can get you Mistopheles, and I can get you unitards, wigs, whatever you want. So I started collecting on eBay when it started, and I was amazed when I first went on eBay. And then I was amazed at the prices that people were asking. Yeah. And eventually, because of all these new fans, I got caught up in a lot of bidding wars. So a lot of my stuff I paid way too much money for. But it was pretty much worth it, because sometimes people don't realize that if I'm bidding on something, I might be bidding on something that matches something I already own. So if it's a UK Bomb Ballerina wig and her unitard comes up, I want to get the whole set. I kind of just want the whole thing, you understand? And now I don't really do that much collecting. Not anymore since COVID. Not for financial reasons. I'm able to, but I have a lot. I have a lot now, so it's like, now
you're looking for the few things that
I'm looking for the really
super interesting to you.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, it's like if you're a beginning collector and you want to collect for cats, the first thing you're going to collect is a pair of shoes. I mean, literally, shoes are a dime a dozen. You can go to the Broadway flea market, and they're still selling shoes. So, shoes is whatever. The holy grail of cats collecting goes from this. It goes shoes, warmers, gloves, collars, unitards, wigs, specialty costume item, full Cats character costume item, full specialty character. So, it goes from there all the way down in terms of rarities. To find a complete, character costume, like say you were going to get Growl Tiger, all the way down, that's going to go for a lot of money. It's going to go for a lot. So, but for collecting, that's pretty much, you're going to wait 5 or 6 years before you're going to get a full specialty. Long time. Long time. Yeah.
Again, it's like, unless you know the person that has it,
you know them,
it's the type of stuff that doesn't pop up for sale very often.
No.
And so when it does, there's a group of people bidding on it, but it all exists. It all lives somewhere.
All somewhere. People are storing stuff everywhere. Like all the Broadway shows have stuff.
They probably don't even know they have it.
Yeah. A lot of the actors kept their tails. I thought that was kind of cool because it's really portable. Yeah. You can stuff a tail and roll it up and stick it with your, I have a Jean Valjean jacket and here's my mocha strap tail. Just roll it up and shove it in the pocket because they're, easily portable and stuff. But
That's true.
Yeah. So
I want to do a little bit of rapid fire for you about cats. So first would be is if you were in the play, in the show, which cat would you want to play?
Which cat would I want to play? I think I want to play Jelly Lorem.
Jelly?
Yeah, she's more kind of my, she doesn't do a lot of dancing, which is great, but she has to sing, and I can't sing and I can't dance. But I think I could embody Jelly. And that's one of my favorite numbers. It's funny you say that because Jelly is one of my favorite cats. Of course, I love them all, but the Gus, the theater cat number, alongside with Memory, that's one of my favorite numbers. I like it because it's slow and she's being solicitous to him and whatever. And, she's making sure he's okay, but, come on. Tell us what you used to do when you were younger. And I like that. I mean, it's quiet and it's just kind of, if you get an actor that can play Gus really, really well, I mean, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that a lot. I like Gus.
Who are your favorite and least favorite characters in the show? Which cats are your favorite?
They change. When I was in the beginning of the fandom, it was Victoria. I loved Victoria. And then as I've grown up with the show. I was 12 and now I'm of a certain age. I say over 50. Yeah. So I liked Victoria when I was younger because I wanted to be a
12 plus.
Yeah, I wanted to be a ballerina. I wanted to dance. So yeah, it was Victoria, and then it gradually morphed into Jelly in the 2000s, and now it's morphed into Grisabella. And then starring role with Grisabella is Munkustrap. Yeah, I love Munkustrap.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards him now as Monk. I love Monk. I think he's a great
female
character.
Characters that you've just kind of. I love that the female characters that are through like the ages is you've kind of followed suit with the ages of the cats.
With the cats, yeah.
So you've kind of grown with them.
Yeah, young and kind of innocent.
Do you have a least favorite?
A least favorite cats? Oh no, I love them all. I love all of them.
Can't choose one.
No, I can't. No, I love all of them.
I think you've answered favorite song. You said it's Gus and Memory.
I'd say the Jellicle Ball, Gus, and Memory. I think the three of those. The Jellicle Ball just for the complete exuberance of, the dancing and the music and the Warsaw, and just British Airways in Warsaw, and Copland. And then I like Gus because it's nice and quiet. I like it because the cats would come out really early in the early days. And they would come out and they would stare at you if you were down at the front row. And they would come and then I once saw Tumble Brutus. There was an orchestra pit. Tumble Brutus stretched out his leg and he did the splits over the orchestra so he could get to a little kid. Literally. And he's like doing the splits. And then he just kind of like stretches and he holds on to the edge of the orchestra pit and he pulls his leg all the way around. And I was like, wow, on the edge of the orchestra pit, but still, it was really cool. And that was before Moments of Happiness. I also saw Mungo J and Rumpelteazer come out one time. They were right in front of me and they saw me staring at them. And Rumpel's like shaking her head. And then finally she starts spinning in a circle. She just goes crazy and starts spinning in a circle and her tail's like spinning around. And Mungo is like completely frozen and she's going in a circle and the whole audience just starts laughing and stuff. And then she stops and then she looks at me and she goes, and just kind of slithered off and stuff. It was so funny. It was hilarious. So they used to do that in the beginning. They used to do the interactions and I miss all that so badly. I miss it. I miss Green Eyes.
Yeah.
And the new,
now it sounds like Tugger.
Yeah,
because, they can't do Green Eyes right now because of COVID.
Yeah, they can't. No, it's because of pretty much litigation, I guess you could say. They stopped people from going up on stage because a little boy fell into the orchestra pit and broke his leg, and the parents, almost. I think they might have sued, and then they said, okay, we can't have people come up on stage anymore, and blah blah blah. And plus, people were trying to steal the junk. They were kind of pulling at it and trying to steal the junk off the walls, and this is back in the 90s. So they only let people stay on the stage at the Winter Garden because there was no orchestra pit in front. but people still stumbled going up and down those ramps. And then the second reason too was I believe is mostly just Tugger, the assaulting. Remember the thing about Tugger? And some woman tried to bring a lawsuit against them because they said that he manhandled her and pulled her, physically up to dance. Because at the time, Tugger would come down in the audience and he'd find a woman, a lady, and he'd just like, let's go dance. I danced with the Tugger 4 times. It was great. Oh, I loved it. I danced with the Tugger 4 times, and the last 2 times Hector got Frank Mastrancola and a bunch of other David Hibbard, to dance with me, and because they knew that I would go crazy. I loved it. And he would go, oh, there she is. There she's got a kiss. And I think this woman decided that she just didn't want to be manhandled like that. And I don't think it was manhandling. I think you're just like, hey, lady, come on, let's dance. Come on, I'm shaking myself in front of you. And then she just, decided to, okay, we're not doing this anymore. And also a lot of...
It's a different time,
It was a really different time, exactly. And a lot of the things, too, was that... I think there was even one crazy lawsuit right near the end before they stopped all the interaction, was that one of the cats scared a little old lady, and she left the show and had almost a heart attack. And they wanted to say, because it was in the dark, and the cats would pop up around
they jump out and scared.
Yeah, and it scared the lady. And every so often I would laugh because I'd be down in the front row in the first couple rows, and I'd hear a scream behind me, and they're coming in, or during Green Eyes, people would scream, and the tunnel in front and the Cassandra would pop up.
I was not prepared for it.
Yeah, you're not prepared. And a lot of these people, little old ladies, 90-year-old ladies, and and I was like, oh my God, and they would be, and I would look over, oh my God, it's like, oh, there we go again. So, but I think it was that.
I always get a kick out of Tyler Haynes, who was Tugger in 2016, said that he got hit. Yeah. He scared somebody and a little kid hit him.
Yeah, they
scared him and they swung back.
Yeah, the audiences would get scared. Okay. Yeah.
Let's ask the most important question. I've argued at length that I don't think Grisabella is the right choice. So I want to hear, do you want to defend Grisabella, or are you going to have a different Jellicle choice?
I thought about this the whole week, and the answers are going to probably kind of blow your mind. I've categorized it into male and female. Okay, for the males, I would say Plato, and for the females, I would say Cassandra. And the reason why I say that is because, the reason I explain it is that...
Give me the rationale.
Yeah, I would say that because both of them are slightly older, and they're both mysterious, so they're sort of related to spiritual matters, kind of like, Cassandra's related to royalty, I guess, the pharaohs and the Sphinx. And she's very mysterious type of character. And I think that she would kind of relate to sort of this. Plato was the protege of Aristotle. Okay. And Plato wrote Plato's Republic and the Greek philosophers and things like that. And I think that Plato would be kind of like, I'm a philosopher, but I want to know what's coming next. And then Cassandra, because Cassandra is related to the Oracle of Delphi in Greece. And the reason I say both of these characters, because they're both Grecian names. They're Grecian names. There's a lot of Greek names in the cast. And T.S. Eliot, apparently he was obsessed with the Greek gods and goddesses. And Plato was supposed to be... actually they thought he was the son of a god, and Cassandra was part of the Oracle of Delphi. And if Cassandra is the one that broadcasted there's going to be a disaster, the city is going to be attacked, there's a disaster, nobody believes me, nobody believes me, please, I'm warning you. She is the harbinger of a warning. So, and I just thought that she's kind of associated with those things of the Oracle at Delphi, because people would go to the woman in the cave and she would give them their auguries, stuff. That's where we get the blind justice, because the Oracle was always blind and she was seated over a vat of fire, giving the oracles. I think that those two characters would be I think they'd be like, the Egyptian Book of the Dead and the transformation, into the Ka spirit, things like that. So I kind of like that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a unique way to think about it. I think it's definitely different than how I've thought about it in the past, but I mean, anytime it's not Grisabelle, I'm happy.
Yeah.
You were my second Cassandra vote and the first Plato vote that I have. So it's always cool to get a new explanation too, because it's part of the fun.
It's really cool.
This has been
it's great.
such a fun episode. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. And I wish the one downside is showing some of these cool pictures and all this stuff is that it didn't, it's a podcast. So I got to enjoy it, but everyone else, maybe I'll have you send me a picture or two of some of the things you showed, and we'll put it on Instagram when we post the episode.
Sure. That's great. Yeah, I had a great time. It's wonderful. I could tell you tons of stories. I've got tons of them.
Yeah.
All the times I've seen the show, I could talk to cast members and meeting cast members and all that type of stuff. And it's just a lot of it's just fun.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, and thanks everyone else for listening to this episode of The Wrong Cat Died, the podcast breakdown of the catastrophe. To follow along, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else to listen to podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at The Wrong Cat Died, or check our website, thewrongcatdied.com.